Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Winner Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It is Thursday, November the 14th. Welcome on into the show. And as always, Doug Upstone with me and Matt Fargo, our new Thursday guy, coming in. Chip Trimmer will be doing NFL with Jim Feist and Paul Bovey. So we got Matt here doing our NFL on Thursday. But before we get to our free picks today, hit the like button here on the YouTube channel. Subscribe, notification bells on so you know when we do our free pick videos. Monday to Saturday, live shows on Monday night, live show Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. You don't want to miss out on that. Again, put that notification bell on, hit that little bell, whatever you got to do in there. Get in there, play around with your little mouse, and be part of the Winning Circle family. But if you want all the premium stuff, you head over to gamblersWORLD.net, our sponsor. That is where me, Doug, Matt, and everybody else keeps our top plays, our premium action, so to speak. College hoops tip-off, $99 for a week. Go get it. NFL, college football, NBA, hockey, cold cash. Doug Upstone in the house with his hockey. We got you covered there. 3 738 packages, all guaranteed. We show you a profit over that time, or we credit you back, and we do it all over again. But use the leaderboard. Just see how we're doing. Click on everybody. We're winning. We're losing. We're up. We're down. It's all right there for you on the site to see. gamblersWORLD.net, all of the premium action. I'm going to go to let's start with Doug. How was your week? Haven't seen you since Monday. How'd you do? What do you got on tap today? It's you got anything lined up here? College football, NFL?
I certainly do. Yes, it's the good news has continued. 24-13 the last 10 days, so that's been strong. 19-7 run in the NHL, so that continues to go extremely well. And I actually got a 2-pack going today at a special price on that. Let's see here, college basketball 6-3 start. So happy with that. Now, and I know, Sean, 6-3, that's just like one day for you. But for me, I'm a little slower coming out of the gate on this. We're do it a little bit different way, but both of us have winning records, so that's good stuff. So yeah, 6-3. I got a play. I got actually a Lee Corso special tonight going in, and actually that's the title of the actual play. Is that it's going to be closer than the experts think. Okay, on this one. So I got it underdog that I'm looking at there, and then also Thursday night football. Okay, got to play on that one too, and I put in some extra special bonuses within the context of that. Give you 2 free props on that one for just $25. So yeah, Sean, things are going extremely well, and I like the energy today. I hear you got a different energy in your voice today. Now I want to hear from Matt what he's got to say, what he's thinking about.
Hold on, wait a second. I want to go to the Lee Corso play. Is this going to be a video pick? Are you going to come out with a little something?
No, just using the words. Just using the words.
Matt,
no headgear. Nothing. Well, because first of all, I'd give it away if that was the case.
Yes.
Right? So that I can't do that.
I said a little Blue Jay tumbler up there. You guys going to sign Soto? Or is that?
I sure hope so. I read the other day that they're in play. I'm like, really? I never would have thought that. But it was just like Ohtani was in play last year, and that never panned out. So exactly. I certainly don't have high hopes for it.
Apparently, Toronto has money. I think they're a deadbeat franchise, but apparently they got money. They just don't spend it wisely.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of money up there, and they every once in a while they'll sign a big player, and it just hasn't panned out. And they need a big signing, and Ohtani obviously would have been a huge one, and Soto would be big. I don't know what's going to happen. Probably not. He's probably going to stick with New York, and I've even heard the Mets. Yeah. These are possibilities as well. So,
well, now that you brought up baseball, Matt, what are you hearing? I read something the other day that it's not for sure, but Guerrero, there's talk of that he could be on the trade market because of what they think they could get for him right now. Have you heard that, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't heard it recently, but he was supposedly on the trade block last year during the deadline, and part of the reason was he came out and said, I wouldn't be opposed to a trade, which is kind of basically bashing your own team to some regard.
Right.
But it obviously didn't happen. But no, I haven't heard anything recently about it. What would they get? Prospects, which would be fine because their system is actually deteriorated in the last year. So prospects would be good, but it just means you're rebuilding it. So I think they need to hold on to him, hold on to Bichette, and sign a big player and get some better pitching in and take a run in New York.
Toronto last year was in an ideal spot to just unload and then come back in a year or two. You could have pulled the Nationals. You could have traded Guerrero. You could have got pitching prospects from Seattle. They needed a bat. And you got Gausman, Kikuchi, Bissett. I mean, I know they traded the one guy to the Astros, but I mean, you had guys to trade. Barrios, you could have traded a bunch of pitchers and got a bunch of guys back because everybody was looking for stuff. You did nothing. So now you're going to trade them at winter meetings?
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of a couple pitchers here and there, some relievers. You're right. They could have unloaded more, and they were out of it early. So by unloading these guys, it would have made sense. But I'm glad they held on to the core guys, Guerrero, Bichette. Those two were actually on the trading block. And Bichette actually got hurt, so his trade value went way down. So that's why he stayed most likely.
Yeah.
And but I don't know what the plan is. I really don't. I don't follow much in the offseason, so I didn't hear anything about Guerrero getting sort of trade possibility. But hopefully he stays. I'm a fan. I think he's a great player, great young player still, and he loves the city. The city loves him. So I hope he sticks around.
I think Soto's going to the Mets. I said from day one here in April, Soto is not re-signing with the Yankees. They're not paying him more than Judge, the captain of the team. It was not going to happen. And the fact that they went out and picked up J.D. Davis, who was dropped, he was waived by the A's, tells you all they need to know about how they're spending money. I mean, you bring in John Birdie as a trade deadline. I mean, the Yankees are, if they're going to spend, they're going to count the beans now and be number crunchers. They'll say, wait a second, $500 million for one guy, or we can spend $500 million and bring in like Bregman and Christian Walker and another pitcher, somewhere else and get three guys for the price of one. And they need help. They don't have a first baseman. They don't have a third baseman. I mean,
I don't think either one of you guys are not fans of his, but for anybody that would be a Juan Soto hater, the perfect spot for him to go, and the money's there, but the Los Angeles Angels, because he'd go there, he'd get hurt, and he'd be done by the time he's 30.
That is true. That is true.
Man, you don't wish that kind of ill will on a guy. I mean, guys go there and it's just over. Pujols, Hamilton, Rendon. I mean, Vernon Wells. Everybody. We could just go back and back to guys just collapsing under.
I mean, look at Mike Trout. Trout. I mean, he's hurt all the time now. I think he's just a bad luck organization at this point. I don't know. Yeah. And as far as Soto goes, I don't like the Yankees. I hate the Yankees because I'm a Blue Jays fan. But Juan Soto, one of the best guys out there, hands down. And I'm not talking about even being a player. I'm talking as a human being. He's awesome.
I mean, 25, get your $500 million. They're talking. He might go back to the Nationals, and you're thinking like, why would he go there? He turned them down $400 million. Yeah. But if they're gonna come up with a big, because they can listen, they don't mind trading him. They'll give him maybe he'll take instead of a 10-year, maybe he'll do a 10-year with a 5-year opt out, and he could get another contract at 30. I mean, he's 25 years old.
Yeah.
So I did hear Soto to the Mets. I did hear that. I also heard Alonso to the Yankees. So it's almost like a swap.
That's terrible. That's a bad move for the Yankees.
I don't know what Alonso can get. 300 maybe. I don't know.
That's a bad move.
Certainly not 5, but
I mean, obviously he fits for the Astros. I mean, a team like Cleveland or Detroit needs a big bat. One of those teams could use a bat, but I don't know if they'll spend that money.
No. Detroit definitely not. Detroit could use a lot.
How about the lowly Giants out there?
So Matt,
always the bridesmaid, never the bride. San Francisco Giants cannot land the big guy.
Nope.
And you're in Arizona, so the Jordan Montgomery stuff, a bad signing. Monty had a bad, started terrible. If you don't sign a contract until March, how do you think you're going to be performing? You don't pitch in 6 months.
Yeah,
it was a bad season.
I mean, besides that, though, I mean, he was terrible. I mean, even afterwards, he was terrible. And I would say I don't know exactly with St. Louis, but I would say at least 10 pounds heavier, at least 10 pounds heavier than when he was in St. Louis. And, I mean, I can't think of any, there's not too many guys that are let's just say regular starting rotation guys that are on the heavier side, but he certainly was. And I don't think that helps,
He plumped up a little bit there.
Mechanics, and you can get some bad habits. So anyway, so Matt, I know you got some things you got going then too, for how you've been doing. So why don't you share that with everybody?
Yeah. Good month so far. 26-14-1 overall. College hoops, 4-2 start. Very light, just like you just said. I like to get 2 or 3 games for each team under their belt first. Get some stats, get some situations going, and then I ramp it up pretty good. So definitely winning start. Got 2 games tonight. College football tonight. NFL, having a great year in the NFL. Big winning season going so far. Big game tonight. Commanders Eagles should be a good one to watch. And I got the side for that. It'll be a big weekend. I have a big lineup in store for college football Saturday. After going sort of late last week, didn't like the card much at all. But this week I love a lot of these games with a lot of implications in store. It's coming up, so it's gonna be a good weekend in NFL. I'm gonna have a big card in the NFL too, with some good situations coming up. So yeah, looking forward to a great end of the week and a great weekend.
Definitely some bigger matchups this week in college football. Playoff implications probably hanging in the balance for some teams. Others trying to solidify themselves. We'll see what happens. We got a couple free pick videos up with those games too as well. So be sure to check out the playlist below here on the Winner Circle YouTube channel and find those marquee college football. We'll get to college basketball probably another week or two. We get to top 25 matchups more often than that. But let's go. We're going to stick with Matt here because he's got a little matchup in the NFC North. Green Bay and the Bears. So this was a 2.5, 3. It shot up to a 6.5. Now settling at a 5.5, total of 40. The Bears, they get rid of a coordinator and they bring in Bryce Young's old coordinator because that worked out so well in Carolina. I got nothing nice to say about the Bears. I've been talking about Caleb Williams. This team was like a 5 to 7 win team. I'm not shocked. Veterans calling for Mr. Baguette to get in there. Maybe he's getting in there now because the line's coming down. I do not know. But what do you got here? It's Green Bay or nothing for me here. I don't care who's quarterback over the Bears.
No, that's fair. I mean, if you're looking who the better team is, obviously it's Green Bay. But this is the NFL. We all know the best teams don't win all the time. And what you brought up was going to be my opening remarks on this game. I'm looking at the line. The advanced line was 2.5. Shot up to 6.5 after the Sunday debacle by Chicago, and it's gone back down, which is surprising. I thought I saw earlier 69. Let me check real quick. 69% of the money on Green Bay. So we're seeing a reverse line move, and I think one of the reasons for it is, Chicago was out 2 of their offensive linemen last week, both tackles, and both came back to practice yesterday, and are. At least one will play, and if both go, it's going to free up a lot of space for Williams, who had a horrible day. He was sacked 9 times, horrible game. So if one of those guys or both come back, I think the line will settle in there. I think more public money will be coming in on Green Bay. The line might go back up, and I love the fact that Shane Waller was fired. I think it will only help this offense, no matter who comes in. It's going to give a spark to somebody, whether it's Williams himself, the receivers, whoever the case may be. So I think it's a good move. And as far as the Packers, they're coming off a bye, off that Lions loss where Jordan Love, hurt his groin. They say he's fine. Groin is a touchy injury, and I don't know if he's going to be 100% or not. So one thing to do is just monitor the 2 tackles, Wright and Jones for Chicago, to see their status for Sunday. And if they go, I think Chicago's the right side of this one.
The Bears plus 5.5. Again, we got some slight injury, 1 out of 2. Maybe there's a coach fired kind of bump like we saw out of the Saints. Right. I don't know. Doug, what are your thoughts on the Bears just as a whole with the way the season is?
Well, I lived used to listen to Chicago radio all the time, sports radio, when I lived in the Midwest. And I mean, I know New York is worse, Philly's probably worse, but Chicago's pretty good, okay, from that standpoint. And not liking many of the Chicago teams, it was particularly enjoyable for me to listen to. And so I can only imagine this week was just, and some of the questions, by the way, that their coach had to answer at the press conference on Monday. Wow. Anyway, so 3 decades the Packers have owned the Bears. Okay. But, I think that, I think that what's gone on, there's going to be a spark in Chicago. Okay. And I think in the first half in particular, I think you might see a little more inspired play. I expect the offensive coordinator to do something similar to what they did in the first half of the Houston game, which is have Williams either in the shotgun or a 3 or 5 step drop back, get rid of the ball, like 1, 2, 3, throw the ball. Try and do that more. Packers defense over the last several years has been notoriously poor in the first half. Bears come in number 13 in total defense, number 7 in points allowed. So I'm looking at this. Teams like Chicago that have gone under the total by 35 or more points in their last 3 games, that have a marginal losing record like they do, and they're facing a winning team. They're 34-11 against the spread in the first half. So I'm going to say take the Bears at +3.5 in the first half of that game.
Man, you guys, I'm just total opposite. I know the line is an overreaction based on, losing to the Patriots, and the Patriots are supposed to be really bad. But I got a bye week to get ready. I got a team that's just owned them anyway. And it's been loved the last, year. It hasn't, it's not Rodgers and Favre time. And I just can't. Eberflus to me is why this team is bad. You change the coordinator. This guy was the best thing since Puff Rice in August when this guy came in here. Oh, my goodness, we're going to do great things. And you bring in the Carolina coordinator who had Bryce Young last year, and they benched him.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on the full game, but for a half a game,
no, I agree. Listen,
I can see the Bears doing at least hanging around.
As our friend Marc Lawrence says, it's a nose. Put the little, hold your nose kind of play, and you take the ugly dogs.
Yeah, right. And my take on it is, you look at history. Well, history doesn't matter. You can go back as far as you want. They've won 19 of the last 21 meetings, I think it is. Who cares? That was when Aaron Rodgers was there. This is a situational play. I think it sets up great for Chicago with the changes, the line move, the recency bias in it. I think Chicago is the right side. We just need a close divisional game, and we see a lot of those in the NFL. That's what we're looking for here. We're not looking for the outright win. All we need is a field goal game either way, and we're good.
And that's the key to it, because it's always the overreaction. Like, is it 3.5 a point? Up to 6.5. That's where we see the good buyback on it now, 5.5. Official play, Bears +5.5. Be sure to get all Matt's premium picks at gamblersworld.net. He ran those down, what he has for the weekend here. Now, another pretty good rivalry here, some would say. The Ravens and the Steelers. I don't know if there's a lot of love lost between these two guys, but Baltimore comes in as a 3-point fave, a total of 48. What's there to say? Steelers 7-1 straight up, the last 8 in this series. As an underdog, they are 8-3-1 with 8 straight up wins in that time since the last 3 years. They're getting it done. I don't know. Are the Ravens can be taken seriously for a Super Bowl contender with a defense that is sometimes non-existent? They've gone over 9 out of the last 10. What happened to this Ravens? This used to be a defensive battle. It might still be defensive battle, but for the Ravens, where's the defense this season?
Yeah,
doesn't matter here. What do you got, Doug?
Yeah, and this one, looking at it, the thing that caught my eye in doing the research was the total going from 44 to up to 48.5, and now it's back to, as you mentioned, 48. And so that's just like watching bread go up in the oven, right? It's just blew up on that. So and I get it. Lamar Jackson, okay, big contributor to points. Baltimore defense, big contributor to points, okay, in this one. And let's look at Russell Wilson. I'll plead guilty on this one. Who thought he was washed up? I did. I don't know if you guys did or not, but I certainly did. And look what's happened. He's got revitalized. in a really good offense for them. They're 8-2. But here's the thing, though, looking at this, and the other thing that struck me is that last I looked, over 90% of the money and the bets are on the over. Now, these teams in their last 8 games, they've played 7-1 under in their last, and including in that is 4-0 under in the Steel City. And this one, maybe I'm the first to admit this, completely wrong. Okay. And off by 10 or more points on this one, who knows? But road teams scoring 27 or more points a game after scoring and allowing 30 or more points in their last contest are 22-4 under, with an average total score of 43.3 points in those 26 games. I think the odds makers actually had it right the first time at 44. So that's what I'm going with. Under 48 with Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Under the 48, official play, Doug Upstone here, Ravens, Steelers. And again, here's another kind of overreaction.
And feel free to criticize me, by the way. Just bring it on. I'm good.
I don't hate that. I mean, because you look at it, 44 seems about right, the way they kind of play historically. But you look at the way Steelers have played since Russell Wilson's come in there, 28-27, 26 points, 37 points, 32 points. They're putting offense up, and Baltimore hasn't stopped anybody, right? So they're giving up they've given up 30 in what, 3 games, 5, 3 of their last 4 games, 3 of their last 5. I don't hate it because it's higher than it should be, because I could see this being like a 27-20 kind of game and just kind of scooting under there. But this is just, again, to throw everything out because these two teams are totally not what they've been the last couple of years. Right, Matt, what do you think right here with this one?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I'm looking at the numbers right now. The over 90, it's up to 95% of the money's on the over. So, going from 44.5 to 48.5 is justified because it had to be done. But I'm looking at the history of these teams. Like I say, sometimes you can take history out of it. Like I was talking about the other game with Green Bay in Chicago. But man, the totals in the series, the last 1, 2, 3, 4 have been under 37.
Yeah.
The highest one in the last 10 is 46, with a couple of 44s in there. So yeah, this is kind of an unprecedented total for these two teams. And I think one of the main reasons is Baltimore's 9-1 to the over this year. So
it's just
because being great offense and horrible defense. I get it, but man, Pittsburgh at home with that defense.
That's what's crazy about it, because it's one thing saying, well, Aaron Rodgers is quarterbacking against whoever for the Bears. This has always been the Pittsburgh MO is defense. Ravens pretty much defense, or like run first kind of squads. Last year's total was 34 in January. It was 34, 39, 35, 37. I mean, nothing even. They don't even get into the 30s. And now we're going out. Now we're at 49. It's gone up. We're closing in on 50. Eesh.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you think back to this series too, especially if you go back either to the late 90s or the most of the 2000s. I mean, literally every game was whomever -3, 37. I mean, that's what they all were, and they were always right there in terms of both the line and then the total. So it's just one of those series, and defense occasionally rears its head in the NFL, so it might just be this week.
And I saw something earlier today that Lamar Jackson was asked why he struggles against the Steelers, which he has, and he's like, I don't know. He had no answer. So, yeah, Tomlin, I think, schemes the right way against this guy who tears up everybody else. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Again, listen, you see him twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year in the playoffs, and you're talking 4, 5, 6 years. You kind of know how they play. I'm with you. I mean, you're going to keep pumping this up. You got to kind of buy back here on the total. I agree. Again, official play under 48 for Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Doug Upstone. And again, his picks at gamblersWORLD.net. Matt Fargo, Bears plus 5.5. I'll be looking at a real barn burner here. We're talking about great rivalries, Bears, Packers going back to the 30s, Ravens, Steelers, rock fight. How about the Browns and Saints, everybody?
Yeah. I'm taking one for a second week in a row, taking one for the team, Sean.
Oh, my goodness.
I tell you, I love it. leaving that Kansas City Buffalo for tomorrow. Good job on that one.
There's just so many marquee games, and one I think a lot of times when we do the videos, I have to kind of not try to get to a Monday or Sunday night game because it's going to be a package that we sell. It's going to be even a better kind of game. Even these games, it's kind of like, I might have something on it, but man, you can't just give riffraff out. No one will even watch. And this is definitely a riffraff. This Saints, Darren Rizzi finally gets a win for them, breaking their 7-game losing streak. It's a pick 'em here against the Browns, 44.5. Is he, with the win for the youth out there, is he now the Rizzler? Do they got their swag back in New Orleans?
The Rizzler, yes, I like that. I like that.
The Rizzler, yeah, it's the big Rizzler. Awesome. Listen, these guys, the Saints to me were you went and got Dennis Allen, defensive guy, then you go and get Carr, and then what do we have here? What kind of team is this? I have no idea what their identity is. Some teams are like, hey, we know these guys are going to be a passing team. It's a defense team. This is going to be the Browns are kind of like that lunchbox kind of crew. Last year we saw 5 different quarterbacks. They all come in, get wins. Not the start they wanted to the year here, right? We had to pull the plug on Watson. He was just terrible. I was kind of like, all right, give the guy a shot. He was out for a year. He's got to get back in game shape. He looked terrible. He just looked terrible. I get it. Get him out of there because anybody else they threw in last year actually produced. Now we get Mr. Watson in there, another guy, gunslinger, has a good game. Then he comes out and wets the bed. He looks terrible. Now we got a bye week. He's got some more time to kind of get into the groove with the team. We talked about offensive line play for the Bears. Browns had their own problems. Now they're kind of getting guys back, right? You got some offensive linemen back. You got backfield. You got Chubb back here to help out the cause. In a pick him off a bye week, I like Stefanski. I do. I think he's a decent coach. I think the players like him. I think they're near mutiny with Watson in there. But here comes Winston. Maybe he has a little bit of a edge because he played for the Saints and maybe knows the defense is why you need this much it's a pick 'em. I just got to win the game. I'm not covering the spread. I just got to win. I'm going to go to Cleveland here. We'll do a little money line. It's minus 105, 110, whatever it is. I'm going to take the Browns here. Again, I got the bye week. The Saints, to me, where's this team going? I mean, what is the identity on this squad? You got a new coach. I think they're going to look to Vegas, say, all right, they had an interim coach win a couple games. We thought things were good, and look at Vegas now. They're going to look for a big name splash. They got some problems. I think it's going to be a total rebuild. I don't like probably where their hearts are, just kind of mercenary guys trying to just get paid. I'm going to go with Cleveland here. Try to salvage a little bit of their season. Cleveland, money line. Doug, what do you think about the Brownies?
I don't like the game in any particular way at all, but I do like one person that you brought up, Jameis Winston. Okay, and Jameis Winston, it's too bad he's not like a great player because he's got the name Jameis is so identifiable. So like if he was good and you just said, hey, well, Jameis is playing, everybody would know who you're talking about, right? Okay, so that makes a lot of sense to me. But guess what? Jameis, he's had a few problems over the years. Okay, and one of them is kind of like the game of the NFL game has changed dramatically from let's just say roughly 30 or more years ago. And because now you throw interceptions in today's world. I mean, it's like wearing the scarlet letter of shame. Okay, if a guy throws one, if he throws two, oh my goodness, that's just horrible. Well, Jameis Winston would have fit in a lot better years ago when coaches just didn't care as much. Okay, like Kenny Stabler, for example. A lot of people watching this probably don't know who Kenny Stabler was, but he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, played for the Raiders and a little bit with New Orleans. And in his career, he's in the Hall of Fame. He threw as many touchdowns as he did interceptions. Not many people know that. Okay, so that's a good one. So I'm looking at Winston. He's made 2 starts this year. He's got 3 picks. 3 of them came in one game. And in fact, here's a little information for you. 13 times he's had 3 or more touchdowns, 3 or more interceptions in a game. Okay, That's certainly of note. He has played 100 games in his career. He's got 102 interceptions. So guess what I'm doing? I'm going over 0.5 interceptions, and even at minus 145 for my boy Jameis.
Minus 145 interceptions. Oh my goodness. Yeah, back in the day, he would have been fine. Like 1997, you throw like 25 touchdowns, 14 picks. No one would have cared.
Right.
And if only this was baseball, where if he's striking out, 180 times, it's cool. but it's not cool in the NFL though.
Nope.
Matt, thoughts on this barn burner here?
This is an ugly one, isn't it? Yeah, I'm with you though with the whole Jameis factor. Coming back to New Orleans, I don't know if it's going to be a huge deal, but I mean, he's just such an upgrade from Deshaun Watson. Like, it's crazy, and their defense is still not great, but they're still number 3 in pressure rate, so they'll get the car, I think, with no problem. And I think the big thing here is that, the Saints firing their coach, and then just rallying the next week and coming away with a win against a rival Atlanta team. And I think it's a big letdown. Their season's done. That was basically their playoff game, their Super Bowl, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I mean, I think Cleveland is the side here. Obviously not much to play for, with the record and everything, but Jameis is still a competitor, and I think he want to go and back to the Dome where he played for a while and pick up the win after the game he had against who was against the Chargers, right? His last game. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a good call with the Browns in this one.
And I mean, you mentioned the Atlanta game last week. I had Atlanta last week -1, basically a pick 'em. They missed like 3 field goals that game too. On top of it, So it wasn't like it was like a nice win. I think Koo got blocked at the end. It was just like the total just hot mess of bad stuff happening to the Falcons for them to even pull out the win.
I believe they also had like 125 to 150 yard edge too in total yards. So it was significant. They outplayed them. They just didn't win the game.
Couldn't get the win. So yeah, at least Cleveland, again, I like the coach. I think bye weeks are important in the NFL. You come out, you get a little healthier, guys feel a little better. And in the case of getting a quarterback who's just getting more reps, I think it's definitely an edge for us here. So Cleveland Browns, money line for me. Bears +5.5, Matt Fargo. Under Steelers 48. We're seeing some 48.5, so maybe this is going to be even more by game time. Kickoff. I almost said tip-off, and at least we're not saying first pitch, but it's basketball season. Speaking of basketball, you can head over to gamblersworld.net. $99 college hoop 7-day special is up. Go get it. College basketball has arrived, and I believe we're going to have some tournaments starting up, right? Do we still have the old what's that? The Maui one goes on out there?
Yeah. Well, actually, I looked this up. There is starting next Friday, because I had to write an article about this. There's 20 tournaments starting next Friday before the end of the month. 20 different ones. So and my personal opinion, if you're talking about basketball, if you want to really get involved in basketball, if you got some time, I know everybody wants to watch football during the Thanksgiving holiday, but if you just watch some games, there's going to be a million games on. Okay, and you watch parts of games, and I'm going to say upwards of 10 games, you will now have a scouting, composition on 20 different teams if you watch 10 different games. So from a handicapping standpoint, I mean, it's something I do every year. I make the effort to do that because now I have information on at least 20 teams over the next month that most people are not going to have because I watched them and learned something. Okay, so that'd be a recommendation as a tip for people watching this video to do over the next, it's about 10 days worth starting next Friday.
We're going to have what? We got like Paradise Jam. I know Nassau's got them, stuff down in the Bahamas. And we don't have the Great Alaskan Shootout anymore. That was always a fun one up there.
Yeah. They're everywhere. And the best part about it is most of them start at like noon Eastern time. So they're on all day and all night. So you have exposure to so many games which you normally don't have on a normal college basketball, Wednesday when they all start at 7 and 10. Whereas all these tournaments, they start early, and it's just a great time of year.
And the other added benefit is from a betting standpoint is that, I mean, you can follow. I mean, as opposed to a tournament, okay, teams get eliminated. That's not what happens. If 8 teams, they're playing 3 games. If there's 4 teams, you're playing 2. So you have opportunities to bet by watching box scores, watching a little bit of games to learn to bet for the next day. So I think it's a wonderful time of year to really do well. And we're like with Sean, I mean, now he could do like what, 30 games? I mean, in a day.
I am 39-31 with college basketball so far. So 39-30. I had a bad day yesterday. I got walloped yesterday. I went 1-7 yesterday in college basketball. I couldn't. If I was in the Bahamas, I would have missed the water and hit a jetty. If I was in the Bahamas yesterday. But again, it's one day, and the day there's only 4 games. I got it. You know, some days you love it, some days you don't love it, and that's for all sports. Like Matt, you're talking about your college football. Last week I had a bunch. This week I had like 3. It's like, all right, am I gonna pull that?
We're opposite. Yeah, last week I had 3 or 4. This week I'm probably going to have maybe 10, maybe 11. So yeah. It's just what do these sheets tell me? What these sheets tell me?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 12 last week. I think I got 3 this week for college football.
Yeah,
it's just weird. It varies.
Yep.
Again, the premium picks at gamblersworld.net. Go give us a follow there. Not give us a follow there. Go there and support the channel and the show. Get on board one of our passes for the week, for the day, however you want to do it. And here, be sure to hit the like button for our Winner Circle YouTube channel. For Doug Upstone, Matt Fargo, myself, we will be back tomorrow. Live show, 1 p.m. Football Friday. Marc Lawrence, Victor King, and myself. Have a good one, everybody. See you next week. Gentlemen, good luck. Take care.
Good luck, everyone.
Bye-bye.